There is a subtle pressure in many of our lives that doesn't always look or feel like pressure, but it's quietly eating away at our inner sense of power and authority. It looks like being dependable. It looks like being the one that everyone can count on. It looks like preempting other people's feelings, needs, or thoughts before even practicing the pause to figure out if they are needing or wanting that thing. And what happens over time is that it begins to quietly eat away at us underneath the surface of everything that we're doing. We wonder if we're enough. It can start to feel like everything is depending on you and like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Like if you don't do it, everything's going to fall apart. If you don't help or support others, then they will never be healed or saved or will never know what to do or won't be able to follow their own sense of inner guidance. And somewhere along the way, this becomes an inner belief that you start to believe is true. You struggle to differentiate between fact and your feelings. As a leader myself who works with other leaders, lately I've been seeing a lot of this in myself and in others. We've been feeling this quiet sense of overwhelming responsibility for things that aren't actually ours to do. Not because anyone explicitly asked us to do all of the things on our task list and on our vision boards or on our goal sheets or spreadsheets or in our Trello boards or Asana boards. No, it's because we've trained ourselves to anticipate, to manage, to hold, to always be reading the room, to always be reading the pattern, to get ahead of problems, to make sure nothing breaks. And we start to carry the weight of this feeling in our bodies. We start to feel nervous, anxious, exhausted, fatigued. I personally just spent most of the weekend laying down. And I'm wondering, why am I feeling so tired? I've hardly done anything. I had a good night's sleep. I start to feel the tightness that I'm constantly scanning the environment as if I'm feeling hypervigilant about a perceived threat that isn't present to me, but that I can feel in my surroundings. In my personal life, just this weekend, it looked like the dinner hour hitting and me not being hungry, but just getting up and starting to prepare dinner for my grown partner and my grown son, not knowing if they were hungry, not knowing if there was something that they needed, not knowing if they even had other dinner plans. But I just got to work making it happen. In my engagement in the world with my clients, with all of the social issues that I care about, it looks like seeing pain and suffering somewhere in the world on the globe, seeing a perceived problem, right? Thousands and thousands of miles away from me on another geographical point in the country, halfway around the world, and immediately collapsing into savior complex, assuming uncritically that these people need my help, it needs our help, that they don't know what to do, that they are not resourced enough or smart enough to know how to solve their own problems. And gosh dang it, there's something that we should be doing. Should I be donating? Who should I be calling, right? Where should I be going, right? But what I'm realizing is that this isn't always wisdom. I'm a deeply empathic and compassionate person. So I'm always going to be noticing the patterns and feeling energetically what other human beings are feeling. And I'm always going to want to help or to support. But I have to be mindful that I'm not moving into a fix, save, rescue mentality at moments and times where it's not needed. And so I have to recognize and accept that maybe this feeling isn't wisdom and compassion, but what it is conditioning. I have been trained to jump before I think. I've been trained to act and do before I practice the pause, get still within, get very silent, and then sense the connections around me, the resources around me, so that I can move forward with wisdom and not just from conditioning and not just from automatic thinking patterns and feeling patterns and belief patterns. I need to examine before I act. Is this coming from a place of, if I don't handle this, then no one will? Or if something goes wrong, it'll be on me or I will be blamed? I have to pause to just take a moment to check in with myself. Here's the thing. There is nothing wrong with feeling a sense of responsibility for the state of your life, for the state of your relationships, for the state of your workplace, for the state of your community, and for the people in the world, the planet. There's nothing wrong with that. Why? Because the truth is, we're all deeply interconnected. We need one another. We rely on one another to thrive, to make the world what it is. Absolutely. Together, when we strive to work across our differences, when we move from a place of deep empathy and compassion that's not from a save, fix, rescue mentality or savior complex, right? When we move to build more authentic relationships, when we move to creatively and energetically collaborate and work in coalitions to achieve awesome goals, right? To heal the world, if that's the language you want to use. All of this is beautiful and lovely, but where it goes wrong is when you believe everything is only yours to carry. That if you don't do it, no one else will do it. That somebody must not know the answer. It assumes that other people aren't resourced. When you move in that way, you begin to overextend. You begin to overfunction. You begin to overthink. You start managing things that were never yours to manage or to carry, and then you call it responsibility. But it's not. It's called unconscious leadership. It's called unconscious leadership. And over time, it drains you. Not because life is too much or the problems are insolvable or impossible, but because you're not seeing the abundance around you in the world. That we're all these beautiful creative creatures with divine gifts and divine intelligence that is meant to support one another. That if you would just pause and look around you and check in, there might be someone else who can support you or who can help you. Just because you feel a thing doesn't make it a fact. And the invitation as a conscious leader is to move forward with clarity, alignment, and facts. So here's the truth that I'm sitting with right now. Not everything I feel responsible for is mine. Here's another truth I'm sitting with. I was never meant to control everything. These are mantras that I've been using lately and that you can use as a leader. Not everything I feel responsible for is mine. I was never meant to control everything. There's a lesson number 47 in A Course in Miracles that says, God is the strength in which I trust. God is the strength in which I trust. This lesson teaches us that we don't have to rely on our strength alone. I don't have to rely on only my ego, my intellectual strength to navigate life. That if I'm really honest and I slow down and settle down and tune in to a deeper well of wisdom, of clarity, of stability, and guidance that's available to me, within me, around me, between me and my brothers and sisters in the world. When I tap into that deeper source of clarity, when I learn to trust that, life doesn't require as much force. It doesn't require constant vigilance. It doesn't require me having tasks and to-do lists that are around the corner that never seem to end. That there is abundance in the world. There are people probably working on the exact same challenge that you're working on. There are people in your organization who are gifted and talented, who have strengths that if you were to ask them to support you, it would flow more effortlessly. Yeah. I don't have to learn a new skill that will require me 14 hours to learn when there's somebody I can tap into who's been doing that for 20 years and can do it in 5 minutes. This is what I now know to be true at this stage of my life and leadership. And that is when I'm not thinking with my right mind, with the wise mind, with my sage self, I am being called to surrender. And a lot of people don't like this word surrender. They resist the word surrender because it makes them feel powerless, as if they're giving up control of their life. But as a spiritual principle, surrender is a state of consciousness in which a person relinquishes the need or desire to control the outcome of events. Surrender doesn't mean you don't act. It doesn't mean you just give up. It doesn't mean you're disinterested or you're detached. But surrender is about a setting an attention, a clear, heartfelt, sincere intention, and then practicing what we call in Buddhist thought non-attachment. Non-attachment from the details and trying to control the outcome and how things are actually going to happen and how things will unfold. Surrender invites us to be flexible, to be open to unexpected events, to be open to divine timing and divine course correction, because I believe that the universe is wise and loving and self-correcting in time. But we have to have faith that all things will be well. All things will be well in time if I'm clear, calm, connected to my real source of inner power and authority. And then I take that action and then I release it. It means that I don't have to manage every outcome, every emotion, every dynamic in the room. I don't have to force holding things together. Surrender is the willingness to release control without withdrawing your care, to stay present without gripping and white knuckling it, and to act without forcing. It reminds me of a famous quote that I've been sharing with a lot of friends lately from the Tao Te Ching that says, "Nature does not hurry, yet accomplishes everything." Nature does not hurry, and yet it accomplishes everything. This is connected to the Taoist belief of Wu Wei, of effortless action. You act, but without gripping, without forcing, without anxiety, without constant vigilance. It requires trust and faith. It requires a deeper sense of spiritual surrender. And so, what I leave you with today is this. If you are anxious, feeling tightening and a sense of urgency in your body, if you're the person who's jumping up to do or to act before anyone has even asked you to do so, right? Ask yourself, how's my faith? How's my trust? What are you carrying right now that was never actually meant to be yours? What would it look like for you to just stop managing it, to allow yourself to take a beat, to relax into a deeper wisdom, that there are other beautiful, smart, empowered, creative, loving, compassionate, action-oriented humans that can make it happen with your support, but it doesn't all have to be you. At the end of the day, sometimes the shift isn't external, it's an internal shift. It isn't about doing more, it's about telling the truth about what was never yours to hold in the first place, and choosing with grace, with calm, with wisdom from your higher self, your God self, your inner sage, choosing to finally put it down. Relax the shoulders. Breathe. Thank you for being here. And if you don't know me, I am the Reverend Dr. Jacqueline Jenkins, the founder of Earthseed. If something spoke to you today, I invite you to share it generously with another leader, a sister, a friend, an activist, a change agent, someone who has a lot of responsibility in the world. Here we explore sacred leadership. This is the place where we tell the truth, where we come back into alignment with who we really are, and we learn how to lead in ways that honor life and each other. So again, thank you. I hope this supported you in relaxing just for a beat today and asking yourself, is this really mine to carry?